Video 2.2 Microsoft Azure IoT Central Architecture. In this video, we will cover the following topics: Things, IoT Central, Business Insights. We have seen that an Azure IoT Central application lets you manage IoT devices, view and analyze IoT device data, export data, etc. in the previous lecture of this course. In this video, we will briefly discuss the key elements in an Azure IoT Central architecture. The architecture comprises three components: Things, IoT Central, and Business Insights or Insights. Things are connected to Azure IoT Central, and any job running on IoT Central can be sent to the Things in return. The data from Azure IoT Central can be exported for storage purposes, and IoT Central can also trigger alerts based on predefined conditions. Insights can also send a request as a query to the Azure IoT Central. Let us discuss key elements of each component in brief, one by one. In Things, there are two key elements: devices and gateway device. Things in the Internet of Things are also devices. Similarly, things in Azure IoT Central architectures collect data and send telemetry data to Azure IoT Central application in streams. Let us take an example of a smart refrigerator. The thing here is a smart refrigerator that is sending a stream of temperature values to the Azure IoT Central application. Apart from telemetry data, a device can also send some predefined properties to the cloud. Azure IoT Central can also control devices by sending commands to the device as an instruction to perform a specific task. The telemetry, properties, and commands are collectively called the device capabilities. The Azure IoT Central supports three communication protocols, namely MQTT, AMQP, and HTTP, to establish communication between device and cloud. Gateway devices are hardware devices that act as a gate between two networks. We need a gateway device between our IoT devices and Azure IoT Central in the following situations. Devices cannot connect directly to Azure IoT Central due to a weak internet connection. The devices are generating a large number of data. The data is aggregated into a local gateway before sending it to the Azure IoT application to reduce cost. The IoT solution requires a quick response to anomalies in data. One can run rules on a gateway device and not on the cloud for fast responses to identify anomalies. The gateway device requires more processing power than a standalone IoT device. The best way to implement gateway devices with Azure IoT Central is to use Azure IoT Edge. Connect IoT devices to Azure IoT Edge first, and then to Azure IoT Central in place of connecting IoT devices directly to the IoT Central. Azure IoT Central is a ready-made environment for IoT solution development. The key elements of IoT Central in the architecture include manage devices, view and analyze data, secure data, and devices and integration with other services. Let us discuss them one by one briefly. Azure IoT Central helps in managing one or many IoT devices together that are connected to the Azure IoT Central application. Managing a device means controlling which devices to connect, setting properties, calling commands, or maintaining device metadata, etc. You can view and analyze data for one device or multiple devices together on an Azure IoT Central application. One can create a custom view and dashboard of a specific type for an individual device, or use built-in analytics to view combined data from multiple devices. With Azure IoT Central application, one can also manage the security aspects of a complete IoT solution. Security aspects include the following: device connectivity, create and update the security key to establish a connection between device and application; app integration, create and update security keys that other applications use to connect with your IoT Central application; data export. Azure IoT Central uses managed identities to secure data while exporting. User management. You can manage the users signing in to your IoT Central application and also define the roles and permissions to such users. Organizations. You can also define a hierarchy to manage which users can view which devices on your Azure IoT Central application. Azure IoT Central also allows you to integrate other cloud services like IoT Hub, DPS, Stream Analytics, SQL Database, etc. with IoT Central to develop a complete IoT solution. Let us move on to the last block of the architecture, Business Insights, or you can say Insights. The key elements of this component include storage and analysis, business automation, and additional computation. Storage of data to other storage destinations for the long term is possible with Azure IoT Central. You can use different storages so as to use other analytics tools to derive insights. This also allows you to view data as and when required for a particular IoT solution. External actions can be triggered by creating rules in Azure IoT Central, such as sending an email alert on emergency events in response to conditions within Azure IoT Central. This helps in business automation as manual dependency is removed by setting an automatic alert in our example. With Azure IoT Central, transformation of data and further computation on data is possible before using data in Azure IoT Central or any other integrated service. Let us understand this with the help of an example. Let us take an example of a delivery truck. Before storing the data sent by the delivery truck to the storage service, we can add local weather information with the data. This might be helpful later on to identify the reason for the delay in delivery. That is all, folks. This brings us to the end of this video. Video summary. In this video, we have covered the following topics: Things, IoT Central, Business Insights. In the next video, we will learn why Microsoft Azure IoT Central.